end zone, underthrown, touchdown, Trey Tucker. To the end zone it goes. Caught! Touchdown, Armon Benz.
It's Bearcat Blitz on the Believe Network. We are presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. We hope you'll make FanDuel Sportsbook your choice this coming weekend as we get into the final third of college football season 2025. And the Bearcats are primed to have everything still to play for and controlling their destiny in every facet of the season remaining. As they said, at 7-1 overall. We will discuss the Bearcats football team in the back half of today's show with their contest against Utah, number 17 Cincinnati versus number 24 Utah in the AP poll. The biggest game of the season yet for the Bearcats and the toughest game of the season yet, as evidenced by the betting line on FanDuel Sportsbook. Our great presenting sponsor. We'll tell you about FanDuel Sportsbook in just a moment. We got the football action in the back half of the show, and we start with basketball, tipping off the season on Monday night against Western Carolina. They have the two exhibitions in the book, and we have fresh comments from Wes Miller, Jalen Celestine, and Baba Miller this week as they preview the upcoming season. And Neil and I preview the upcoming season as well. We'll give our record prediction and whether or not we think the Bearcats will make the 2026 NCAA tournament. All that coming up on Bearcat Blitz, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook, where you can wager on the Bearcats to beat the Utah Utes this weekend as major underdogs. It's flashed between 7.5 points to 10.5 points over the past couple of days. Currently on the FanDuel Sportsbook, Cincinnati is a 9.5 point underdog, with the VIG sitting at minus 104 on the betting line there, plus 290 underdogs to win this game as the higher ranked team in the AP poll. But Utah getting Devin Dampier back at the quarterback position and boasting one of the most complete rosters in the entire country. And when you look at special teams, defense, and offense, definitely one of the most complete rosters in the Big 12. Point total sitting at 54.5 points for that game on FanDuel Sportsbook. Make FanDuel your choice this weekend, where you can access a 30% profit boost right now and a 30% profit boost from Bussin' with the Boys on college football parlays. All of the basketball and football action coming up on Bearcat Blitz. Neil, basketball getting ready to tip off on Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern against Western Carolina. And the Bearcats got a bunch of new names here, Neil. 12 new faces on the roster, 3 returnees, including Day Thomas, Tyler McKinley, and Halvine DeZellet. And only, obviously, Day Thomas as the rotation piece returning to this team. Basically a completely new look. Massive season for Wes Miller, who was 82-59 at Cincinnati, has won 20+ games in 7 of his last 9 seasons, but not all of those 20+ win seasons coming with 20+ regular season wins, which, Neil, likely going to be what they have to break into that number to have a realistic chance of making the dance. And you likely got to go at least 8-10, if not 9-9 in the Big 12 to get into the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, absolutely, Russ. And like you mentioned, I mean, the Big 12 is the best basketball conference in America. Everybody knows that. It's no argument on that.
I disagree wholeheartedly. I think it's third this year. I would put the SEC and the Big 10 higher.
Which it could be possible, but it's going to be interesting. The Big 10 is a very good conference, and so is the SEC. The SEC has 4 teams in the top 15 as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what team kind of jumps out to the front there and holds the catalyst as best conference in America. But for me, I still think it's the Big 12 for many reasons being. But when you look at this schedule for Cincinnati, Russ, you mentioned 500 is the minimum they have to go in Big 12 play, in my firm opinion, right? You can't have an 8-10 might get you into the NCAA tournament. All depends on what you do in non-conference. But the way this non-conference schedule is loaded for Wes Miller, they have plenty of opportunities to go on the road or to stay at home, essentially, basically, and swipe some key victories. And it starts in 2 weeks versus Dayton, right? I think that's going to be your number one marquee matchup. Then you have Louisville. Then you scroll down to the non-conference slate. You have Xavier, which Russ, between me and you and the rumblings we're hearing, that might not be a quad one game like many anticipated. So it's going to be interesting there. And then you have the Georgia matchup and Clemson to round out your non-conference slate. I think if they can take 3 of the 5 of those, they should be in pretty good position. Obviously, Louisville being a top 25 team and on a neutral site, Clemson being on a neutral site as well. So, or Clemson being down in Clemson, Georgia being the neutral site. So overall, if they can go 3-5 in those 5 matchups that I just discussed there, I think that solidifies their case. But for me, Russ, they got to go. I'm going to go 11-7 or 10-8 in the Big 12 for them to find their way to get into the big dance.
What's your final record prediction this year, Neil?
You said 20-11, and I really was thinking that this whole morning, but I'm going to go with 21-10.
All
So
right,
we're not
20.
far off. We're
Yeah,
not far off.
20 or 21 wins. It should be enough. I got them going 11-2 in the non-conference slate and 9-9 in the conference matchups. And Neil, it was like it didn't take me long to get to this projection. Like it's pretty much unless Shanabayev is like a top 30 player in the country right away, freshman of the year, phenom sensation, 15 plus points per game every single night, set your clock to it, then I think 20 to 21 wins is right around a good projection for the Bearcats with a ceiling of like 23 to 24 regular season wins. That would be an amazing regular season, and the ceiling probably would have to involve a dominant freshman season from the likes of Shanabayev or a dominant leap season from a guy like Mustafa Cham and becoming a legit assist force, a guy you can run the offense through out of the post, something like that. Because right now there is not that go-to scoring option on this roster, Neil. But in my prediction article, I noted, and we talked about it the last week, just the addition by subtraction that Jizzle James figures to be here. I think it's going to be an addition by subtraction. They're going to move the ball better this season offensively. I think the coaching staff is going to be able to implement what they want to do more effectively this season without 2 ball stopping guards taking a bunch of mid-range jump shots like you had last year in Day Thomas and Jizzle James, and a guy in Day Thomas who hopefully the numbers have been hammered home to him from the staff this offseason that you do not need to take 100 plus mid-range or 100 plus non-rim 2-point shots this season. Do not take that many. Transfer about 30, 40, or 50 of those to the 3-point line and shoot. If you can continue to shoot 40% from deep on 50 more attempts, his points per game are going to go up 3 to 4 points per game overall, and his efficiency is just going to skyrocket. So layups, threes, maximize the math if you are Cincinnati in this conference, especially in conference play, maybe less so in the non-conference. Let guys free will a little bit more. See what you have in these rotations. See who can maybe be that microwave scorer more often in these easier games. But overall, Neil, we're right pretty much aligned. I got them 20-11 overall, 9-9 in the Big 12. You got them going 21-10 and what? A 10-8 record in the Big 12?
Yeah.
And then we both have 2 losses in the non-conference. Who do you think they lose to in the non-conference? I'm rolling with a loss in a quote-unquote neutral matchup to Clemson. It's only 30 miles away from Clemson, South Carolina, Greenville, where they're playing. That's going to be, I would imagine, 90+% Clemson fans at that game. It's going to feel like a road game, so I think it's going to be tough to get a win there. And I also have them losing in the neutral site game against Louisville, but I think they break the streak of 20 plus years without a road win at Xavier. That Musketeers team has shown me nothing in the exhibitions to think they're going to be a team that Cincinnati shouldn't beat on the road as your only true road opponent before what? The start of the new year?
Yeah. And I'm right there with you too, Russ, because when you look down in the non-conference schedule, Louisville's going to be tough, right? That's going to be a tough matchup, and it's at the neutral site. And honestly, Heritage Bank Center is just a dump, and I wish they would find somewhere else to play this game. But that's going to be a hard matchup there. Obviously, Pat Kelsey's done a fantastic job with Louisville, so
And
it's
I'm
going to
expecting like a split similar to Dayton that we've seen
yes,
in those games over the past couple of years, crowd-wise.
yes, absolutely. And Louisville fans travel real well. Pat Kelsey also being from Cincinnati, you got to have a sense of urgency that there's going to be a very strong Louisville contention
Is that a
in that.
Friday night too? I believe it is. I can look
Yes,
real
it is
quick.
a Friday night.
Yeah, so they'll travel pretty easily for that one.
So then I have them losing that game. However, I'm torn on the Clemson game. Right now, I'm leaning towards they probably lose that matchup. But maybe as things go down, my prediction might sway the other way, but that would be the other matchup because Russ, this Xavier team, through two scrimmages, I mean, two close scrimmages, you lose to Toledo and Murray State. And that has shown me nothing. They got blown out by Murray State and they got beat by Toledo by 4. So this Xavier team hasn't shown me much. Obviously, it wasn't going to show us much being in the first year of Richard Pitino, but not off to a good start if you're a Xavier basketball fan, seeing that your teams have lost in close scrimmages to Murray State, who is arguably people sleep on, but contenders to win the Missouri Valley Conference, and then Toledo, who could be in contention to win the MAC. So overall, not an ideal start for Xavier, but I'm right there with you. I think this is the game where Cincinnati can go into Cintas and pick up their first win in 20 years, roughly. Now, I know this team's not going to make any bulletin board material heading into one of the last matchups they had at Cintas. Obviously, the iconic video from Victor Locken made its appearance around right before that tip off, but I don't think they're going to give them any bulletin board material. Most of this roster has played in these big time rivalry games. They have the experience this year. I think this one goes to Cincinnati at Xavier, but who knows, Ross? Who knows at that matchup? It's like every year somebody 10th man on the bench comes off and gives you a 30 piece. So you never know. So, but yeah, back to it. I think the two losses in non-conference for me, Russ, come to Clemson and Louisville, as well the neutral site games.
Pretty aligned. I think these are pretty fair projections for the Bearcats, especially just it's hard to know what they're going to be. And I didn't even really include, I usually do a starting lineup prediction included in these season predictions before the campaign gets going, Neil, but we might see a new starting lineup like 5 or 6 throughout the non-conference slate. It seems like, and this is a good transition into the conversation with Wes Miller and the players yesterday. Miller and his staff, Neil, biggest takeaway I had for me yesterday was they aren't really set yet on who is going to be kind of the definitive hierarchy on this rotation. And they're going to kind of use the first week, first 10 days or so, first few games to see how guys can really fit in there and continued game action, even though they did get a little bit of a taste of that in the exhibitions, but obviously real live ball coming up on Monday night.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, when you look at the scrimmages, and Wes Miller made it a priority to talk about this yesterday, but they've played 4 halves of college basketball, right? In each half, they have started a different lineup.
Right.
So they're still trying to pick and play what rotations might look like. And then obviously for Cincinnati, that looks a little different right now heading into the season because their plans got deteriorated when Jalen Haynes went down with the injury.
And
So
unfortunately, no update yet from Wes Miller on
just sounds
Jalen
like
Haynes.
it's gonna be a while, is how he stated it. Said
Right.
won't
At
return soon.
least, I mean, I would be stunned if we see him in a Bearcats game before the
Mhm.
new year. That's what we'll say about that for right now.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be probably if he is able to return for this season. I don't think it will be before the conference slate.
Yeah,
The
probably
slate.
will have snowed already at least once in Cincinnati before Jalen Haynes gets back on the court. Hopefully not, but we will. That's just all the tea leaves are kind of reading that way right now. But continue, Neil. Sorry.
Yeah, but overall the roster it's going to be interesting to see what these rotations might be like. Like, yeah, you know what you have at point guard: Kirk Carissa, Day Thomas, Keyshawn Tillery behind it. But it's like who else are you going to have there at the wing? Jalen Celestine hasn't fully been healthy this offseason. He was on a minutes restriction versus Arkansas in the scrimmage, so they're trying to see what his load might look like come Monday night in the season opener. They're still trying to move around a lot of pieces to see what this rotation might look like. And Russ, yesterday was my first time being in the same room as Jalen Celestine, and he's a big guy. He's
Yeah,
a
he's
lot
six
bigger.
seven, isn't he? Like 6'7", over
He, he's
200.
he's 6'7", but he's got like the frame where he could play a little bit inside as well. But
Yeah.
everybody knows he's a knockdown shooter, so that could be an interesting thing to play. Wes Miller praised him yesterday about how this team's better when he's healthy and on the court. So it's going to be interesting to see what these lineups might look like. And Monday night, Russ versus Western Carolina. I'm sure we're going to see 10 to 11 guys get minutes. Let's put it that way.
Right. You would think hopefully the entire roster ends up getting minutes down to the walk-ons as well, because Western Carolina, it should be an absolute domination for the Bearcats. No betting line up just yet for Cincinnati as they get ready to face Western Carolina, but we will update you on that Monday evening when that comes across, or Mondays during Monday's show when that comes across the dial. They'll have a betting lineup for that, I would imagine. By then, let's get to a quick break and then preview the ranked matchup for UC football on the road this weekend against the Utah Utes. And of course, we got to tell you all about FanDuel Sportsbook, where you can bet on the Bearcats basketball team to win the Big 12 if you think they're going to be a lot better than Neil and I project this season. Not necessarily a lot better, but definitely better. You're not going to win the Big 12 with a 20-11 record, and they currently sit at what, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eighth best odds on the FanDuel Sportsbook to win the Big 12 at 30 to 1. Not too long ago, the Bearcats football team was over 50 to 1 to win the Big 12 before the start of this season, and they have put themselves in the position to maybe shock the world there. So maybe the Bearcats basketball team can do the same. Check out FanDuel Sportsbook for all your wagers this basketball season and beyond. We'll be back in just a moment on Bearcat Blitz, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Neil, bouncing back into the show here and closing things out with a look at Cincinnati Bearcats football's matchup against Utah on Saturday, 10:15 Eastern kick. Get your coffee ready, everybody. It's going to be a late night in the tri-state area. Utah, an 80.5% matchup predictor favorite, according to ESPN's Football Power Index, to win this game. As we mentioned, they are a 9.5-point favorite on FanDuel Sportsbook, up to 10.5 points on some other sportsbooks as well. So sharp bettors, mostly the entire betting public, not believing in the Bearcats very much in this game. And Neil, they are down Evan Pryor in this contest, pretty much officially listed as out. He was confirmed to be out by Pete Thamel, ESPN's Pete Thamel, yesterday, listed as out on the injury report. He will not be in the mix for the rushing attack this weekend, leaving it to Brendan Sorsby, Tawee Walker, and I would imagine a heavier dose of Manny Covey in the mix here for the running back hierarchy in terms of how it'll break down against Utah. One of the best run defenses in the country, one of the best defenses in general in the entire nation. Number 30 EPA per rush defense, number 14 EPA per drop back defense. And overall, Neil, they allow just a 35.8% success rate. This is probably the best defense UC will face maybe all season, unless they match up with Texas Tech in the in the Big 12 championship game. It's a daunting task, Neil. Going 5,000 feet up to elevation without one of your best running backs. We thought maybe some defensive pieces maybe on the mend and maybe having some injury issues this week, but that thankfully didn't come to fruition on the Wednesday injury report. Outside of Pryor, Cincinnati's still pretty healthy all the way around, but not given much of a chance here against Utah, who has seen the betting line go more and more their way as it became more concrete that starting quarterback Devin Dampier would return for this game for the Utes.
Yeah, and before we get into talking Utah, I would be shocked to see anything change with Evan Pryor, and it's kind of confirmed by Pete Thamel. I would be shocked to see anything change on that front.
He didn't practice a lick on Tuesday. He wasn't even out there at all.
Based on what we saw on Tuesday, I would be shocked if we see him out there this week, or even be shocked if he makes the trip, to be honest. But for
because with the swelling and the airplane and like you don't even want to mess with that.
Yeah. So to be honest with you, it's gonna be a daunting task on Saturday. Scott Satterfield called it the biggest challenge of the year, and Russ, I don't think they've played a better defense than what they're about to face on Saturday. Kansas's defense was good, don't get me wrong, but man, this Utah team, they do so many different unique things on the defensive end. They run these stunts, they run these twists. They can really get after the quarterback. They're coming off a performance where they had 7 sacks a week ago versus Colorado. And on top of it, that's not even counting the tackles for loss. This is a
Will they
team
win that game 53-7 at home?
blowout. But overall, it's a daunting task. You mentioned the elevation. I believe the team's heading out a little bit earlier from what I was told. So they're going to head out there, get ready for this elevation, but there's no easy flight to Salt Lake City. Let's put it that way. And when you're playing at about, I believe, Russ, you and I looked it up at practice, is what, 4,800 feet of elevation. So
Yeah.
it's going to be difficult, but
It's about
if I,
4,000 feet higher up than Cincinnati sits.
yeah, and if there's anything I trust within this coaching staff, it's Nico Palizzetti will have these guys in the right condition to go out there and play a ball game on Saturday. So it's going to be interesting to see how they come out. But the biggest thing for me, Russ, is man, how excited are you to see this offensive line of Cincinnati, which has tied a Big 12 record as Brendan Sorsby has had 7 straight games with 2 or more passing touchdowns, while this offensive line has allowed only 1 or fewer sacks. That's only the 5th time that has been accomplished in Big 12 history. Saturday would make it 8 games in a row, and if they are able to do that again on Saturday with a defense as talented as Utah's, it says a lot about this offensive line that UC is building, and you got two of the best offensive line, arguably two of the best offensive lines within the Big 12 going at it on Saturday. I don't think the run game will be there for Cincinnati. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Tawee Walker gets 25 carries, or we air it out and then try to open that up. It's going to be interesting to see. But for me, Russ, Devin Dampier back under center for Utah, that kind of swayed the betting lines a little bit, and everyone was wondering why it swayed a lot. Obviously, Devin Dampier was a preseason Big 12 all conference team nominee heading into the season. Very good quarterback. He's not going to give you these kind of stats of what a guy like Taven Jackson might give you versus UCF or whoever it was, that Cam Fancher or whatever. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I'm excited to see how this defense kind of holds still and holds tight. But this Utah offense, Russ, is averaging 500 yards a game roughly. So it's going to be a battle of the trenches on both sides of the ball, and I'm looking forward to it. I know I'll be amped up with some coffee, some caffeine, whatever it might be, because it's going to be a long night.
I'm gonna do it, Neil. I'm gonna have to pick against the Bearcats here. The numbers are to me too daunting, and especially the numbers going to Utah. If the Utes were coming here, the way UC is playing right now, it would be enough for me to pick them to win in a one-score game, in a field goal game. Honestly, I think it would be very, very close, and they would get the job done. But I'm rolling with the Utes here, 30-23. When you look at Cincinnati's offense versus Utah's defense, it's just it's a really good unit versus a really good unit, and being at home for Utah plays a huge factor here. I think this is a defensive front that UC has not faced the likes of all season long. That's going to give this great, great offensive line some troubles, in my opinion. And then when you look at the red zone conversion rate on the other side of the ball for the Utah Utes, it's astounding. 80.56% TD rate this season. They're one of the best red zone teams in the country. And that's been the big reason, Neil, why Cincinnati's defense has posted less than 20 points per game allowed this season, bowing up in the red zone. This type of environment, this type of noise, although we got to hear them
That practice, that was great.
It's about as they made that practice facility about as loud as you could possibly make a non 80,000 people filled area get. But
And if people were wondering how loud it was too, to put into reference, you could hear the music bumping from Nippert Stadium.
yeah,
Like
like
you
I
could
parked up Calhoun Street close to Kroger, and I was like, "What is that? Is that crowd noise? What is that noise?" And as you get closer and closer, it's like, "Oh
like
my
I
Lord."
walked out of that arena out of practice on Tuesday, Russ, and I had a migraine the rest of the day, but I wouldn't change it for the world because of how loud it was. But man, I was blown away. Like you couldn't even hear yourself thinking, and they didn't even
No.
have it on like the max volume
Right,
either.
you took me over to
Crazy.
the control panel. It said 90%. It wasn't even at 100%
Yeah,
when I
they
was
didn't even
catching
have
the
it up
crowd
that
noise.
high, which is crazy.
But yeah, the offense versus Utah defense is a basically mano-a-mano matchup here, in my opinion. When you look at the offensive success rate nationally for Cincinnati, sixth best. Defensive success rate allowed for Utah, 11th best. It's going to be a very good battle on that front that I think Cincinnati will win a few more times than not, but I don't think they're going to get many possessions here, Neil. 5 to 7 possessions maybe in total. I think it's going to require 4 to 5 touchdowns to win this game in general. So if you're only getting 6 to 7 possessions, it just puts so much pressure on that offense to execute. And I think they're going to come up short a few times on a couple of different drives and end up having to punt the football away. I don't imagine they're going to turn the ball over in this game because they've done such a great job of not turning the ball over all season. But when you look at the amount gained by Utah, not necessarily scaring you out of the water. I mean, they've only gained 8 turnovers this season, so I don't think Cincinnati's going to be in too much trouble there of hemorrhaging lost possessions by anything outside of a punt. But when you look at the other side of the ball, Neil, it's just too much of a mismatch for me. This Utah offense is deadly efficient. Deadly efficient. 14th in the country, just behind the Bearcats offense, and overall success rate. They're 11th in EPA per rush. They're 9th in EPA per dropback. And when you look at the quality drive rate here, it's where things really, really start to go the Utah Utes way. 13th in points per quality drive to Cincinnati's 53rd ranking on defense. They're 24th in early down EPA, second in third and fourth down success rate, while Cincinnati is 80th in both. I just think Utah with Devin Dampier, they're going to move the football consistently 10, 12, 11, or 10, 11, 12, 13 play drives, suck the air out of the clock, and get enough red zone success. I see them probably going 3 out of 4 on touchdowns in the red zone here, just given how great they've been as an offense. And that, to me, Neil, holds more weight if you're an offense that good in the red zone compared to a Cincinnati defense that I wouldn't say has gotten lucky in the red zone, has performed better when they've gotten inside the 20s, but then there's been some plays here and there that I don't think go Cincinnati's defense's way in a matchup against an offense of the efficiency caliber like Utah. So give me the Utes 30-23 here, slightly under, and the Bearcats cover the 9.5 points, but do not win the game, similar to them covering the 6.5 points against Nebraska and ultimately falling just short. What do you got?
Yeah, before I give my prediction, Russ, I want to get your prediction on something here.
Yeah.
What Utah is going their all black uniforms.
Yeah.
Your prediction on what Cincinnati's uniform combo will be. I'll give you mine. I'm going with the red helmets, the white uniforms, and the black pants, the same style they wore at Notre Dame.
I'm gonna go black, white, black. I think we go black, white,
Okay.
black. A little black on black helmet. That would be fun if we get a little
I just
black
don't
helmet.
see them
Actually,
going black helmets,
yeah,
black
that's
helmets with
true.
Utah wearing black.
Maybe white, all white would be nasty. All
All
white
white would be
versus all
nasty.
black would be a lot of fun. I would love that. Let's
There's
go,
so
let's go
many
all
different-
white. I would love to see all white.
There's so many different unique combos you can do. And now that we're on that topic, how cool is it to hear Brendan Sorsby say, yeah, the captains picked last week's uniform matchup.
I love that they let the players get the input like that. That's so awesome. Because in the NFL, I think they set the uniforms
And they said it.
in the off season. So there's not as much kind of collaboration there versus this week. You get the uniform, you kind of just get to pick your uniform week to week. So it's very, very cool. And Cincinnati, looking at the breakdowns this season for the 2025 uniform tracker, shout out to Cincinnati Uniform Tracker on X, doing a great job with this. They did wear all white against BG, and they wore all white against OSU. So, Neil, we're probably not going to see the all white a third time in the first 8 weeks of the season. But it's a great look. Look, they've worn it twice for a reason.
Yeah. So back to the prediction aspect here in this game. For me, I think this is a matchup where Cincinnati could get the job done. And I was saying it on Jeff Trenenpohl's podcast the other day. I firmly believe that Cincinnati has everything moving in the right direction. And the fact that you hear these guys so level-headed, so confident, keep it locked in, 1-0 each week, 1-0 each week. Russ, I'm going to go the opposite of what you said. You said 30-23. Utah, give me 30-23 in favor of the Bearcats in this one. And I think it's going to come down to the end. But, man, I'm just so locked in. I'm locked in, Russ, and I usually I wouldn't be this guy, but give me 8 straight for the Bearcats, and let's get this thing rolling into the bye week and then Arizona here in 2 weeks. Give me 8 straight. going 30-23 with the Bearcats. And to even add on a little prediction, Joe Royer finds the end zone on Saturday as well.
Biggest matchup for people to key in on here is that Cincinnati Bearcats defensive front. Can they find a way to break through the brick wall that is this Utah offensive line, the best offensive line they faced so far this season? And numbers right here that need to flip. 115th in pressure rate this season is Cincinnati's defense, 102nd in sack EPA, and 107th in scramble rate, going up against the 25th, 21st, and 42nd ranked offense in all three of those numbers. If Cincinnati can find a way to slow that down, get pressure on Dampier, and not let him destroy them with his legs, they're going to have a fighting chance to prove me wrong and prove Neil right. We'll see what happens when we reconvene on Monday right here on Bearcat Blitz, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Have a great weekend, everybody.